What if the US attacked Greenland? It's January 2026, and the Arctic has become the center of an unprecedented crisis between the United States and one of its oldest allies. President Donald Trump, back in office after defeating Kamala Harris in the 2024 election, has made acquiring Greenland a central priority. Over the past few weeks, his statements have grown increasingly aggressive. He's called American control of Greenland an absolute necessity and refused to rule out military force. Denmark has rejected every approach. Greenland's government wants independence on their own terms, not American annexation. And now, the unthinkable is becoming possible. Here's why this matters. Greenland is 836,000 square miles of strategic territory between North America and Europe. It hosts Pituffik Space Base, critical for missile defense. It holds rare earth minerals essential for phones, jets, and weapons. And with climate change opening Arctic shipping routes, it's the most valuable territory on Earth. So we're asking, what if the US actually attacked Greenland? Why this crisis is building? 3 factors have converged to make Greenland a flashpoint. First, the rare earth crisis. China controls 70% of rare earth processing. Greenland's deposits could break that monopoly, but development has stalled over environmental and political disputes. Second, Arctic militarization. Russia has built new bases across its Arctic coast. China claims to be a near-Arctic state seeking shipping access. Greenland sits at the strategic center. Third, Trump's transactional approach to alliances. If allies won't accommodate American interests, he's willing to act unilaterally. The trigger. The most likely spark would be a designed incident, giving Washington justification. Picture this. A Chinese mining company begins rare earth extraction in southern Greenland under a contract Denmark opposes. The US declares it a security threat. When Greenland refuses to halt operations, American forces at Pituffik Space Base expand their perimeter. Denmark sends a naval vessel to intercept an unauthorized American supply ship. Warning shots are fired. An American drone is targeted. Within hours, crisis erupts. Trump demands Denmark cede control. Denmark refuses. And the world watches to see if America will attack a NATO ally. Scenario 1. Seizing strategic sites. The most limited option is surgical strikes controlling key locations. U.S. forces at Pituffik execute a pre-planned operation. The 75th Ranger Regiment simultaneously secures Nuuk, the capital with 19,000 people, and Kangerlussuaq, Greenland's main airport. Greenland has no military. Danish forces number about 150 personnel. They're professional, but outmatched. The operation succeeds militarily in 48 hours. Trump declares this temporary, preventing Chinese exploitation and protecting infrastructure. Not invasion, just security. But consequences explode immediately. The NATO crisis. Denmark invokes Article 4 of the NATO Treaty, triggering NATO's worst crisis in 75 years. One member has seized another member's territory. No precedent exists. European members condemn the action, but face impossible choices. The US protects Europe from Russia, but if NATO won't defend Denmark, what's the alliance for? France leads calls for European defense independent of America. Germany faces pressure to oppose aggression. Poland and the Baltics panic. They need American protection. But this proves allies can't be trusted. NATO wouldn't collapse instantly, but it would be paralyzed. Exercises halt. Intelligence sharing stops. The command structure fractures. Denmark and Europe strike back. Denmark can't retake Greenland militarily, but fights asymmetrically. Danish cyber units attack American military networks. Denmark freezes American assets and pushes EU allies to follow. They file cases at international courts seeking arrest warrants for officials, and they wage an Information campaign. Democracy attacked by its ally, indigenous people resisting occupation. The European Union imposes targeted sanctions on American officials, restricts dollar transactions through European banks, and suspends technology cooperation. EU ambassadors withdraw from Washington. This isn't full economic war, but it's unprecedented against the United States. Russia and China exploit the crisis. For Moscow, this is a gift. Putin offers Denmark diplomatic support, accelerates Arctic militarization, and tells Norway and Finland that NATO won't protect them either. Beijing condemns the action globally and tightens rare earth exports to America. If the U.S. wants Greenland's minerals badly enough to invade, they're clearly desperate. This crushes American technology and defense industries. China also uses the crisis to expand Belt and Road investments, positioning itself as defender of sovereignty while America looks like an aggressor. Canada's nightmare. Canada faces existential crisis. They have Arctic disputes with the U.S. over the Northwest Passage. If America seizes Greenland, what stops them from taking Canadian Arctic territory? Ottawa massively increases defense spending and quietly prepares to separate from American markets. The world's most stable border becomes militarized. Greenland's resistance. The real challenge isn't military, it's Greenland's 57,000 people, 90% indigenous Inuit. Civil servants refuse to cooperate. Teachers won't work with occupation authorities. Fishermen stop operating, collapsing the economy. All communication shifts to Greenlandic language. Technical workers stop maintaining power, water, and heating systems critical in 52°C temperatures. Greenlandic leaders campaign internationally as indigenous Arctic people resisting occupation. That image devastates American credibility globally. America could control territory, but couldn't govern it. Every day would be a struggle against total non-cooperation. The economic disaster. Denmark provides $600 million annually for 57,000 people, over $10,000 per person, because everything must be imported. Occupation costs explode. Maintaining 10,000 troops costs billions annually. Infrastructure upgrades, tens of billions. Replacing Danish subsidies, $600 million yearly. Mining development, tens of billions. First year, $20–30 billion. Annual costs, $5–10 billion. You could buy Greenland's rare earth production for 50 years for less than 5 years of occupation. Global impacts are worse. Dollar decline accelerates. Trade with the EU, $1.5 trillion annually, faces restrictions. International investment drops. The World Bank estimates US-EU fracture could cost $2 trillion in global GDP annually. Scenario 2. The slow takeover. A more likely scenario is gradual pressure. Trump expands Pituffik dramatically, offers Greenland $5 billion for military access, establishes naval bases without permission, floods Greenland with money and jobs. A referendum is held under pressure. It passes narrowly. Greenland accepts American partnership. Denmark calls it illegal. The U.S. claims self-determination. No invasion headlines. Each step seems justifiable, but the result is American control. The strategic failure. Even with military success, strategic goals fail. Mining requires stability. Companies won't invest in disputed territory. Government development costs more than buying minerals internationally. Control doesn't grant Arctic shipping dominance. It makes the region more contested. American strategy since 1945 relies on alliances amplifying power. Attacking an ally destroys that network, making America weaker despite controlling Greenland. Who actually wins? The U.S. wins militarily but loses strategically. NATO crippled, alliances damaged, dollar declining, international legitimacy shattered, billions wasted, ungovernable territory. Denmark loses territory but gains moral authority, and stronger EU ties. Greenland loses most, caught between powers, economy disrupted, self-determination crushed. Russia wins, NATO fractured, free Arctic access. China wins, US-EU damaged, dollar weakening, expanding influence. The reality now. We're not at military action yet, but tensions are real. Trump emphasizes Greenland repeatedly. Competition intensifies daily. The question isn't whether America could seize Greenland, it's whether it should. Right now, the US has everything needed: base access, cooperation, resources available for purchase. Seizing the island risks everything for territory America can't govern. The danger is crisis moments when leaders convince themselves force is necessary. That's how catastrophes happen. Taking Greenland would be easy. The consequences would haunt American power for generations. If you want to understand how Pacific World War spread, check out the video on screen now. Thanks for watching.